My life had been defined by a constant, gnawing companion, a chronic illness that had woven itself into the fabric of my existence. For years, I'd navigated a landscape of pain, fatigue, and uncertainty. Doctor's appointments were as regular as breathing, each one a cycle of hope followed by the familiar sting of disappointment. Treatments offered fleeting relief, temporary respites from the relentless onslaught of symptoms, but never a true cure. I'd endured countless therapies, diets, and regimens, each promising a brighter tomorrow that never quite dawned. The illness had stolen my energy, my passions, and the carefree spirit I once possessed, leaving behind a shadow of my former self, perpetually tethered to a body that felt like a cage. The online rabbit holes I'd fallen into during sleepless nights were usually filled with despair, but one evening, a flicker of something different caught my eye. It was a forum, a seemingly obscure corner of the internet dedicated to experimental health solutions. Among the usual stories of false hope and skepticism, a name kept recurring: Dr. Eris Thorne. His name was associated with a treatment called chronoregenesis, a revolutionary therapy that promised to recalibrate cellular aging and regeneration. The testimonials were astounding, almost too good to be true. Patients spoke of conditions like mind vanishing, of a return to vibrant health, of lives reborn. Dr. Thorne himself was portrayed as a brilliant, visionary scientist, a maverick operating outside the confines of conventional medicine, driven by a profound desire to heal. Driven by a desperate hope that gnawed at the edges of my reason, I dug deeper. Dr. Thorne's website was sleek, filled with scientific jargon that sounded impressive, and testimonials that read like personal epics of recovery. He spoke of unlocking the body's innate healing capabilities, of a process that essentially rewound cellular damage. The process itself sounded complex, involving a series of injections and a strict, months-long regimen of dietary supplements and specialized therapies, all administered at his private clinic, nestled in a remote, picturesque countryside. It was expensive, prohibitively so, but the thought of reclaiming my life, of finally living without the constant burden of illness, outweighed the financial strain. I liquidated savings, took out loans, and poured every available resource into this chance. The initial stages at the clinic were promising. Dr. Thorne himself was charismatic, exuding an aura of calm confidence. His staff, though few, were efficient and discreet. The injections, administered with precise regularity, caused a mild, temporary fatigue, which was explained as the body's initial response to the treatment. Gradually, I began to notice subtle changes. The persistent ache that had been my constant companion started to recede. My energy levels, once at an all-time low, began to climb. I could walk further without exhaustion, sleep through the night without pain, and even felt a rekindling of the simple joy of waking up in the morning. It felt like a miracle, the impossible becoming reality. The testimonials were true, chronoregenesis was working. As the weeks turned into months, the improvements were undeniable. The physical ailments that had plagued me for years seemed to evaporate. My skin regained its youthful elasticity, my hair thickened and grew lustrous, and my mind felt sharper, more focused than it had in a decade. Dr. Thorne attributed these additional benefits to the holistic regeneration of the chronoregenesis process, a comprehensive revitalization of the entire system. I reveled in this newfound vitality, reconnecting with hobbies I'd long abandoned, enjoying long walks, and rediscovering the pleasure of simple physical exertion. I felt reborn, a testament to Dr. Thorne's genius. However, as my physical health soared, other, more unsettling changes began to surface. It started with small things. A growing impatience with trivial matters. A heightened sense of irritation that simmered just beneath the surface. My empathy, once a core part of my personality, seemed to be fading, replaced by a pragmatic, almost clinical detachment. I found myself making decisions with a cold logic that felt alien to me, dismissing the emotional needs of others with a shrug. My friends noticed it first. They commented on my newfound assertiveness, my directness, which they initially praised as a sign of my regained confidence. But beneath their smiles, I could sense a growing unease, a subtle shift in their interactions with me. The changes accelerated. My desire for connection waned, replaced by a preference for solitude. Social gatherings, once a source of comfort, became a draining ordeal, the small talk and emotional exchanges feeling tedious and pointless. I found myself becoming more assertive, then aggressive, in my interactions, my temper flaring over minor inconveniences. My physical appearance began to alter too, subtly at first, a sharpened jawline, a more predatory glint in my eyes, a heightened physical presence that felt both powerful and unsettling. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, a more confident, perhaps more capable version of myself, but undeniably different. The warmth, the compassion, the gentle spirit that had defined me seemed to be slowly ebbing away, replaced by a calculating efficiency. The true horror began when I started experiencing moments of uncharacteristic aggression. Petty arguments escalated into furious outbursts. A simple disagreement with a stranger on the street led to a terrifying impulse to lash out physically. I would find myself staring at people, my mind briefly consumed by an unbidden predatory thought, a primal urge that I had never experienced before. The logical, detached part of me was horrified, but another, growing part of me felt a strange sense of power, a thrill in this newfound dominance. The miracle cure wasn't just regenerating my cells, it was fundamentally rewriting my very nature. The realization that Dr. Thorne's chronoregenesis had fundamentally altered my psyche, turning me into someone I didn't recognize, was a devastating blow. The cure had come at a terrible price, trading my physical well-being for my very humanity. I tried to confront Dr. Thorne, to demand an explanation, but he was evasive, attributing my newfound assertiveness to the positive effects of the treatment. His staff offered platitudes and reminders of the contract I had signed, a document that conveniently absolved him of any responsibility for unforeseen psychological transformations. The clinic, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a cage, a place where I had traded one form of suffering for another, arguably far worse. I was trapped. The physical pain was gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness and the constant struggle against the darker impulses that now dictated my thoughts and actions. The vibrant health I had craved had come at the cost of my empathy, my compassion, and my sense of self. I had sought a cure for my illness, but instead, I had become a monster, a being driven by a cold, calculating logic, her old self buried beneath layers of unfeeling efficiency. The miracle cure had, indeed, transformed me, but not into the healthy, happy person I had envisioned. It had turned me into something else entirely, something that was a terrifying reflection of the desperate measures I had taken to escape my own mortality. The quest for health can lead down unexpected paths. If this story made you think, please hit like and subscribe for more transformative tales. What would you have done in her shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you tomorrow.